During the conquests that created the Empire of Appalachia, a cultural tradition emerged within Louisville that also spread all the way down to Tullahoma, whereby peasants in these regions would actually tell terrifying stories about High King Golden. Now, it's interesting that these stories and this storytelling tradition actually started in the direct domain of High King Golden, largely who was seen as a respected warrior by his people. But the stories didn't just include High King Golden possessed, but also the old man on the mountain himself, Court Chaplain Opie of Appalachia, 79 years old, possessed, and with his 46 learning, he's been on the holy path, just trying to transform the religious landscape within our empire. Was it fear of conversion that's caused these stories to start up, or were there darker things at hand, reasons for peasants to be afraid? Welcome back to We Play Games. I'm Walker, and here we are with CK3 after the end with the old man on the mountain. So High King Golden, the Anointed of Appalachia, has managed to secure an empire for himself, and in doing so, we've secured control over all of the Appalachian people, but not all of the Appalachian Mountains themselves. You can see there's still plenty of northern expansion that we're going to have to do, so we're going to do a lot of northern campaigns in this. We're going to be fighting Hudsonia, as well as campaigns at the end of the world against Tiramara up here. But of course, we're not going to just leave the Commonwealth floating out here forever. We're definitely going to be launching an invasion of them, but just looking at what's going on here, we're not going to do it just yet. Because here you can see Emperor Thomas Spratt, this is the son of Emperor Jefferson Spratt, is currently fighting a civil war against Prince Kirkwood, who's trying to seize control, and it looks like Kirkwood is going to win. And of course, Kirkwood was the character who seized control of the Commonwealth during our invasion of Alabama, promising, of course, to use the Gee strength to break us and drive us out. But he lost that, and then Emperor Jefferson came back into power and then died, and now Emperor Thomas is in control. But Kirkwood is still seething about his loss at Alabama and is trying to seize control of the empire. And so Opie out here is teaching us, hey, you gotta go down there into the Commonwealth and teach that young man how to lose gracefully. So we're gonna plan on invading the Commonwealth once Kirkwood takes control. But in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and do a series of things called the Royal Expansions, named after King Royal of Kanawha here. So the royal expansions themselves were probably caused by two simultaneous things during the foundation of the Empire of Appalachia. So just as we founded the empire, our son, Chieftain Yancey of the Cumberland Gap, who we'd set up here as a nice little count, he actually became infirm. He's quite sick, but you can see that his wife is pregnant, so if this child survives, if the wife survives, we might have an heir for Chieftain Yancey. But because he's sick, he's likely to die, and we want to make sure that this line has the strength necessary to survive out here on the frontier. And you can see that on that there is actually some real difficulty. The High Chieftain of Bluegrass is trying to raid us. And so this is going to be a dramatic expansion of the power of the princes within Appalachia, sort of just as a way to help keep them alive, but that in turn, of course, is going to mean a massive expansion of power for High King Golden and some pretty dramatic changes when it comes to the social organization of Appalachia. But the cornerstone, of course, of all of that is going to be this expansion war, where we're going to just seize control of a lot of these border territories, turn them over to local princes, and then see if that gives them enough strength so that way they can kind of police this border for themselves. In the background, we're going to do some pretty dramatic changes culturally as well. We're going to go ahead and pass high tribal authority, and therefore work our way down towards absolute tribal authority, at which we can stop being tribal. But high tribal authority is also going to be really important for High King Golden to police this territory we're expanding into, because now we can revoke titles with high tribal authority. So if anybody out here decides that they want to rebel and they don't respect the danger of rebelling against us, we will start taking their land away without hesitation. We're also dramatically expanding some of our buildings here. We're just going to go through, and anywhere that looks wealthy, like Fort Knox, we'll go ahead and increase the tribal hold, or throw up war camps, upgrade those for extra knights knights. And in consultation with Court Chaplain Opie, we're going to go through and demand that every single man, woman, and child within Appalachia convert. So we just went ahead and sent just a lot of requests to people living within our realm, demanding that they change their ways and embrace revelationism. And of course, we're going to be reforming our military. But these changes, both in terms of our military, as well as all of the new money coming into these areas, the dramatic changing religious landscape thanks to Court Chaplain Opie, and this massive invasion of these areas is going to make the peasants living here really uncomfortable. And that makes sense, you know, that's why they have become superstitious of High King Golden, because now that we've become an emperor, we're going to become a tyrant in turn. And as I mentioned, we are going to go ahead and change up our military just a little bit. We're going to destroy this regiment of light footmen. We're going to pick up a regiment of armored footmen. Unfortunately, we don't have access to mountaineers at the moment, but of course, if mountaineers did exist in the game, we would be running them right now. And another stack of mangonels, because we do want to be able to just siege through as much HCC territory as quickly as possible whenever we get to that point. And we're going to go ahead and hire the real Holy Order. We're going to get armored horsemen, and we're going to get picket lines for this War of the Expansion, just to like really show off, you know, who's got the power of God on their side. So we're out here on our second Doomsday tour, and High King Golden, 53 years old, in excellent health. He's having the opportunity to reflect upon his life so far, and we could go with I still have so much life to live, and therefore, you know, get determined for live, 15 more years of excellent health, but we're probably going to make it past 68, and I think that this is an opportunity for High King Golden to prove that he is ambitious. We're going to see if we can get determined, because determined is 20% more lifestyle experience points. If we can hit this, that'd be enormous. Oh yes, all right. So there was some debate in court if King Golden was just gonna sit on his hands and, you know, be happy with what he's built, but no, on this second Doomsday tour, we're definitely deciding that it is our duty to conquer, and we need to make ourselves into that force to change the world for God. But we are going to be embracing worldliness along this tour whenever we get the opportunity to, because I think worldliness is going to be fun just to see what sort of multicultural empire we can leave in our wake. And of course, because we worked on the strategist tree, we can actually use any of our men-at-arms to besiege things. So we should be able to make pretty quick work of the enemies here in Kentucky and then reposition the War of the Expansion up north. Because you can see that Ohio has actually put together around 8,000 troops, Allegheny around 5,000. So our troops are going to have something to do while we wait for our truce with the Commonwealth to come to an end. And Sarah has indeed become our friend. But this is going to be one of the first, like, friendships that King Golden is going to build with someone who isn't just sort of a dumb Viking warrior. And it's going to be a sea change for him as well, because we're going to go ahead and just identify a couple of, like, really capable characters in different courts. And we're going to see if we can invite them to our court through befriending them. Because if they're a friend, they're very, very likely to want to switch over. So we're just going to target some of these very capable characters, befriend them, and recruit them. And that's going to be something that's going to be increasingly important, of course, to the growing empire of Appalachia. And now we've even come back in the middle of the War of the Expansion here, so we can go ahead and grab one of these stacks to lead for ourselves, because we are, of course, a very, very capable siege leader. And that's kind of all we're looking for when it comes to finishing up this War of the Expansion before we can attack the Commonwealth. Just siege things down. Oh, and we captured Sinus Wilma of Alleghenia yet again. Now, the last time we captured a Sinus of Alleghenia, we executed her, but in this case, I think we're just gonna let her live with the shame, knowing that this is probably gonna be the end of the kingdom of Alleghenia. There's just not a lot of strength left for that tiny little kingdom over there, especially because we are gonna be building up our son, Uzitsani, as a really powerful broker, giving him control over not only Westlvania, but all of this new stuff that we just conquered, Punxsutawney all the way up to Attica. So yeah, now this son of ours, recognized as our own, is hopefully going to be strong enough to just annex what remains here. It doesn't look like she's got a lot in terms of levies. And just like that, we've defeated Lower Ohio. And basically right on time, because our troops are starving to death. They need to regain their strength. We can actually create the Kingdom of Kentucky and give that over to High Chieftain Yancey, who has managed to not just have one kid, but maybe a second. So maybe the line of Yancey is going to continue here. That would be really exciting. But of course, we're not going to give away the entire royal domain in here. He's going to have to deal with just being a rump king for a little bit. And High King Golden, possessed, is now becoming increasingly interested in the mystical practices. So let's see if we can become a wise man. Because if we can get a wise man online, then we can get outrageous amount of learning experience. Excellent, we did find wise man. So now, because we have the ability to do mystical communions, we can start seeking out the aid of God in even stranger ways. Because we are, of course, getting direct communications from God. That is why we are invading the Commonwealth. And don't ask for more details than that. King Golden doesn't have them. His real goal may have simply been to legitimize whatever it was he wanted to do, but in this case, it's gonna bring basically lasting prestige and legitimacy to the Appalachian people here in CK3. And Opie, he's died of a seizure. So this is going to be difficult for us because, of course, Opie has sort of been our right-hand man and our confidant and sort of even our father figure for a very long time. And unfortunately, this does deprive us of a very important force when it comes to our proselytizing within our empire. But fortunately, simply because Revelationism is so new and so hot, we're definitely going to be able to convert a lot of the territory here within the Commonwealth. But this is going to be a sad moment for High King Golden the Anointed, as High Chieftain Opie's last request that we go out there and teach Kirkwood what's what is impossible, because Kirkwood has died. And for that matter, now the Commonwealth is having another civil war for control. So we're gonna follow Opie's last request sort of as well as we can and put an end to this anarchy down here. We're gonna bring back the pillage from Atlanta, and then we're going to declare an invasion of the Commonwealth. Emperor Thomas Sprat definitely was the most capable of the last emperors of a truly powerful Holy Columbian Commonwealth here. He's a very good ruler overall, but unfortunately the realm he's inherited is unstable and on the verge of collapse. He's got another civil war, and he's become so weak that now some of our vassals are indeed engaging in wars against the Commonwealth itself. But I think the Commonwealth is going to discover that it has a much, much bigger problem. We are going to go ahead and make good on Opie's last request to destroy the Commonwealth. Although Kirkwood isn't here for us to teach a good lesson to, we're going to declare an invasion of Georgia, and then we're going to siege along inside of Tar Heel and Palmetto, and thereby hopefully take the Commonwealth off the map, or at least, push them to just a tiny little strip along the coast that our vassals can finish off. High King Golden isn't even really going to pay too close attention to this war out here at the moment. It doesn't look like the Holy Columbian Commonwealth can put together any real resistance. Our troops should be able to just siege all of this down without even a second's thought. And Empress Peggy has now overthrown the Emperor Thomas in the HCC's revolving door of madness down here. So sure, yeah, we're gonna keep the invasion going, see what she can put together now. Her army is slightly larger, but only slightly. Oh, and we even captured Empress Peggy in our invasion, so we're gonna go ahead and just execute her, even though it is gonna cost us just a little bit of our war score, just to keep the area here as unstable as possible. But that is going to bring Emperor Thomas back into to power. But unfortunately, like I said, his abilities are probably going to be too little too late, because now we're just sieging down the last little pieces out here in Palmetto and in Tar Heel, and maybe we can even take Durham and Raleigh in this war. That would be really spicy. Ooh, and we have somebody showing up offering to make us a throne, and he's considered a master by our peers, or by his peers. So anybody that we can sponsor, I think at this point we're just going to start sponsoring them, because I think that's a good way for us to get our sons with good courts. We do want to get them as much prestige as possible and as much court grandeur as possible, so that way they get as powerful as they can, and hopefully they can start conquering like the Old Dominion on their own. All right, there it is. We've defeated the Commonwealth. Thomas Longshanks of the Commonwealth is destroyed. Holy cow. Yeah, we just carved up the Commonwealth. This is a small enough rump state that if there's any sort of independence or dissolution faction. Emperor Thomas, I do not think is going to be able to hold on. But of course, that's going to put us in control of most of Palmetto, most of Tar Heel, and of course, all of Georgia. So we're going to need to take just a minute here to reorganize all of this new territory under our control. And for that matter, to convert all of these people, because we did manage to pass that third level of high tribal authority. So anyone down here who is not willing to convert, we can revoke titles from. But we're going to use this as an opportunity to begin our second northern campaign. So our first northern campaign was centered around fighting Hudsonia and Deitschrei, but Hudsonia has kind of like bumped along and is feeling pretty good about their ability to expand, although they have now gotten sucked into a war against Ottawa. But Deitschrei is really falling apart, and more importantly, they're falling apart to Americanists, who, you know, eventually we are going to need to fight if we're going to have control over all of Appalachia here. So we're going to start intervening into what is going to spill out from the second Northern campaign and become the Maryland campaign, wherein we're going to attack a bunch of these Americanists out here on the field. But the second Northern campaign is going to be aimed at Hudsonia and taking control of the entire Duchy of Catskill. That'll put us, of course, outside of Albany, and therefore the third Northern campaign should allow us to take the Hudsonian capital and then probably cause their kingdom to disintegrate. But this campaign is really more of an interstitial one, because it is going to get us control of the Catskills, but also just start pushing us in towards Maryland. Oh no! Azorati Torres, the insanely jacked general that we got, has died of some kind of minor illness, causing us to pick up some stress. Well, we're going to go ahead and just go for a ride, you know, make good use out of being athletic here. Looks like South Jersey has indeed seized control of coal land from the Deitschrei here, which means, of course, that at the end of this war, this will be the end of that kingdom. But then we can go ahead and create Duke Denmark the Brave to be a new king for us. I think that would be fun, and of course, just the stronger we can get vassals along the border, the better. But it looks like Hudsonia is just not even going to bother out here. They're just going to focus all their troops on Ottawa, which I guess makes sense. You know, Ottawa, this is a winnable war, whereas this very much is not. But the Kingdom of Hudsonia is just surrendering control over the Catskills to us there. And the Old Dominion is coming to us with 265 gold in hand, asking to buy a truce with us, which I think, you know, earlier on in King Golden's reign, we might have said yes to this, but Old Dominion has control over territory that, of course, we're going to need to reclaim here. So we're going to say no on this truce for 15 years. And this is probably something that's going to cause some real consternation and fear inside of Old Dominion. And I think that is a good thing for them to be afraid, because the great heathen army is finally coming. And now, you know, we're just out here seducing another pseudo wife for us, Christine Whitley. But the reason, of course, that High King Golden reformed the faith as he did, so that way he could get away with adultery, is just in case he gets caught on one of these extra marriage expeditions. But, you know, we only have 13 kids, and we're going to see if we can fix that up a little bit. Because, of course, we're going to need some governors for all this territory that we're conquering here. And who better to trust than a prince of the royal blood? Especially after the royal expansions down here. So the Appalachian evangelical populace are going to rise up. Let's see how big this is. 36,000. All right, yeah, this is the Great Peasant War. That's going to go commensurate with our second Northern campaign here. So thanks to the Peacemaker perk, which we picked up, we should have a pretty easy time finishing this war against Hudsonia and moving our troops down south, except for the fact that our troops are starving to death. They've been on the field for so long that they are literally entirely out of supplies. So we're going to have to split everybody up and just march down here the old-fashioned way and see if that's a good enough opportunity for us to recover a little bit on our supplies. We need to put this down, because there's a lot of princes actually who are being threatened by this movement down here. The one thing we have going for us, of course, is that everybody is very split up. Oh, and of course, we can hire our Holy Order to help us defend here. And that's going to be quite nice, because that's going to just, you know, give us a whole bunch of very high quality troops, as well as just maxed out supplies down here. So we're going to go ahead and just start a fight with the peasants out here. Yeah, our troops are very, very hungry coming back from the campaign in Hudsonia, and it would have been nice to give them an opportunity to rest, but this was, I think, one of the critical battles here, defeating them outside of Rocky Mount. Because now they're down to 24,000. Oh, and now we see there is a real crisis. Our son here in Floribama is under siege, and peasants are only 4 months away from breaking through his walls. So, as just in time, we actually managed to capture Leader Nelson of the populist uprising. And thank goodness, because that is going to save our son down here. And just like that, we've brought an end to the Great Peasant War. It was quite the army, but they were able to put on the field. And of course, because of the starvation, our troops are in not as good shape as you'd expect. But from here, we can go ahead and begin the Maryland campaign. Up until the Maryland campaign, High King Golden largely existed as an existential threat towards Americanism rather than a real one, as people watched the hordes of Appalachia just roll over the Holy Columbian Commonwealth. But the Maryland campaign aimed, of course, at seizing control of the Appalachian Mountains right here in Maryland, as well as checking the power of the existing Americanist forces in the form of Old Dominion. Should do a good job of waking Americanism up to the threat that we pose. We might provoke a holy war back from Americanism if they see what's going on here, but that could be fun, defending against a crusade. But in the meantime, we're just declaring war on basically all of our Americanist neighbors, except for Delaware Valley. We're going to leave Americanists in control of Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., and probably New York for at least the immediate time being, because, those are areas that are pretty well outside the Appalachian cultural sphere. But also just because we want an opportunity to show them what's what, we're going to do some hardcore looting on Gotham at the end of the war here, just to see if we can get some real loot for the kingdom. Because, of course, High King Golden, the Anointed, he does blow through gold whenever he's on these war paths. Yeah, it turns out that Eugene of Delaware Valley is going to intervene in this war anyway, but, that's okay. We won't bother sieging down Philadelphia this time. We want the loot there for a raid. Oh, actually, I didn't realize the presidency had passed to Delmarva, so we actually declared direct war on the presidency. Well, alright, that makes sense. We're trying to provoke Americanism. Or if they can't be provoked, then, preemptively destroy their armies. Yep, looks like we're going to be able to catch the first Americanist stacks outside of Kutztown, and despite the fact that they have a pretty substantial advantage in terms of numbers of men-at-arms, their men-at-arms are very small, and we're able to just chew through them. But because we are fighting so many Americanists, I am going to go ahead and hire Holy Order. So he sees control of Coal Land now, or at least most of Coal Land. There is a little bit that's independent now, thanks to a succession inside Hudsonia. So you can see Hudsonia, it's no longer Queen Francine, now her sister, Queen Josephine, has taken over. But unfortunately for Queen Josephine, of course, she is taking over a rump state Hudsonia, one that's already lost the Finger Lakes and the Catskills to our expanding Appalachian Empire. And because, of course, there's a new ruler in Hudsonia, that means that now there's an opportunity for us to declare war, because we don't have a truce with them anymore. So immediately after the Maryland campaign, we're probably going to let our troops just have a very brief break, and then we're just going to go ahead and attack Hudsonia again, because we just want to get rid of this power base. Oh, and our son, High Chieftain Utsitsani here of Westlvania, set up in Pittsburgh. Of course, he is Cherokee by culture because he was raised by our lover Yanasi, who did break up with us eventually. But he was raised as Cherokee, and so he's going to keep practicing that culture. But we're going to go ahead and just increase our cultural acceptance with our son. Oh, and of course, we are going to do a cadastral survey. I think that would be a nice thing for us to do. Map out what this empire looks like. And our prisons were just completely overflowing with prisoners at that point, so we just got 800 gold from ransoming everybody back. But as I said, we're still here for Hudsonia, and they've lost control of their ruler, so we're going to go ahead and just declare another war. But we're going to consider this part of the same, second Northern campaign, because we're really just back-to-back here. The question of whether or not the Maryland campaign should be considered part of the second Northern campaign is kind of an academic question. It's definitely important for our conquests in Appalachia itself. But it was just sort of like a non-stop campaign for the troops at this point. We just went Hudsonia over to Maryland, back up to Hudsonia. But because our religion is warmongering, everybody's pretty happy with this. And let's go straight for Albany. Let's end this petty kingdom here, and Albany has been seized, thus bringing an end to the Second Northern Campaign. Hudsonia does now hold on, but their strength was 5,000 at the beginning of this Second Northern Campaign, and now they're down to under 1,000. So the pieces that we're going to leave behind should be pretty easy for our vassals to just sweep up. And of course, as a consequence of the Maryland campaign, we have set up some of our grandchildren here right along the coast. And that means that now we're going to start interacting with boats, and we're going to start thinking about ways that we can utilize boats as a source of power and strength and wealth. But I think the first and most obvious thing for us to do now that we've seized control of Albany and we're outside of Philadelphia, New York City, and Washington is to go ahead and destroy the great cities of the East. So let's go on a little raiding expedition just to pad our gold income a little bit more and see what the big city can show us. I do want to note here that if you are enjoying the longer form role playing here in CK3 after the end, comment down below, let me know. If you don't have time to watch a 42-minute video, let me know that too. I'm just kind of feeling the waters for what people are interested in when it comes to CK3 after the end, because I really do love this world. I think it's just so much fun. So on that note, we have sacked Manhattan, and the people here in Manhattan revealed to us that they would have had just a lot more loot if it wasn't for the fact that they'd been dealing with invasions from New England over and over again. It's possible that New York was just sort of manipulating us in this invasion here into the Yankee territory. This will be the Yankee Wars, whether or not we're exclusively fighting the Yankee culture or lobstermen or lettermen. But they revealed to us that these people had been taking a lot of the wealth here in these East Coast cities. So we're going to go ahead and just lay claim to the wealth here for future raiding generations and try to take the Yankees out. We're going to take the war to the occultists. At the same time, we're also going to do another little worldly pilgrimage, because I don't think that we need the assistance of now the old man on the mountain, Golden, in order to beat those barbarians out there. But one thing we are going to be fighting against here when we're fighting these Yankees, of course, is going to be very, very low supply. So don't be surprised if we order some assaults here in these Yankee Wars. But we are targeting a really powerful kingdom as well. Solomon the Bastard of Maine with 5.6k definitely can't fight us 1v1, but with all these other Yankees out here, he might be able to give us stiff resistance. But I think very importantly is Quebec. So you can see here Quebec already has 10k troops. Queen Josephine is gonna die and keep the territory together, which is gonna pass the land to Queen Lydia of Iowa, who of course is married to the King of Iowa. And so there's gonna be a really powerful force forming here in the north, who I think we're gonna have to do some fighting against in the future. Oh boy, 10,000 troops are now marching around the Hudson River. This is very interesting alliance network that we've pitted ourselves against here. But so far, we haven't seen anything out of Maine. They even send any troops to fight us. They did mark up though. All right, so we're gonna start the fight against all of these occultist Yankees out here. Oh, looks like they're actually gonna let us just defeat their stacks one by one. Very bad idea on their part. And now we're gonna try to bring the Yankee Wars to an end and defeat the army of Maine. They've got 6,000, 7,000 troops available to them here, and they're taking a defense in the mountains. And of course our troops are running desperately low on supplies, so we're just trying to end this war as quickly as we can. But I think given that we outnumber them 2-1, this should be a pretty lopsided fight for us. Yep, Captain Xanthus of the Yankees is about to go down here. Oh, but he's not going to go down by himself. He killed our caravan master. What a jerk. Well, good thing that we've been recruiting all these high-quality courtiers so we can replace them. But yeah, that's a cost to this Yankee War. Oh no! And High Queen Gemma has finally died. Well, that's unfortunate that it leaves us, on our own. But High King Golden the Anointed has expanded his repertoire in terms of his lovers over time. So I'm not sure if High King Golden is actually gonna remarry towards the end of his life. He might not need to. We managed to catch Maine, and looks like we're going to defeat their army in detail and then bring the Yankee Wars to a close. Also looks like we intervened up here in Maine, pretty much at the last possible minute to prevent this from becoming a regional superpower, because it looks like Solomon the Bastard has converted to constitutionalism, which means that now he's going to start probably allying with the forces to his south, the people who actually sent us up that way to begin with. But I think we're going to end this episode, The Old Man on the Mountain, the way that we began it, with a story about the old man on the mountain. So out here, as I mentioned in Louisville, they've been telling stories where they've been superstitious of their ruler, and so a storytelling tradition has emerged around High King Golden. But we've managed to introduce storytelling as an actual cultural tradition for Appalachian, and so we're going to start transforming that storytelling tradition into something that's a little more positive for us. And we're going to do it not by changing the Appalachian culture a little bit, but by changing it a lot. We're going to form a hybrid culture with the people that we've conquered down here in the Commonwealth. We're going to keep our upland and backcountry heritage, but we're going to switch over to a bellicose stance for our ethos rather than communal, just to highlight, the transformations that we've been pushing through. But we're going to pick up chivalry as well as Southern Knights as two of our new cultural traditions for this new culture, which we're going to call Southern Appalachian, just to highlight, of course, that we're going to be well beyond just the Appalachia region and into Appalachia pretty soon. And of course, by forming this new culture with the Dixie culture, we are going to pick up some of their innovations and therefore help our progress there. But more importantly, I think it's going to be just this cultural fusion is going to introduce into the storytelling tradition around High King Golden stories of knights, because while we've been doing our pilgrimaging, of course, because we have a very high prowess, we've been encountering knights along the way and engaging them in storytelling and helping them fight monsters and search for holy waters and whatnot. And so this is sort of like the effort of High King Golden to change the stories that are being told about him and the old man on the mountain into something a little more positive, something with maybe an Arthurian bent. But our next episode is going to be our last. Those are going to be the golden years of High King Golden and the wars at the end of the world, because we definitely have a couple of really nice targets here lined up. Tiramara looks like it might not be exactly the threat we were hoping it to be, but Quebec, even after succession, they still got 5,000 troops here, so they're gonna be a real force to be reckoned with, at least more than the Commonwealth is. The rump state that we've left down here is really not gonna last for much longer, because we're getting pretty darn close to cleaning up the rest of the terrain map down here. There's maybe one more that we need to do against Ohio, and maybe one more or two more wars we need to do against Old Dominion. But other than that, basically all he's got to do now is conquer Maine and beyond. All right, that's Walker. Take care.